Don't get blocked. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. I am joined by the homie, Steven Ngati. Steve, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. What's up, everybody? What's up, RJ? How you doing?
Man, I'm good, because you're going into a national championship winning season for the Oklahoma Sooners. What about your Longhorns?
Not so fast, my friend. In the respected words of Mr. Lee Corso. I really like what your squad has on paper for 2021, objectively speaking. But let's pump the brakes on the national championship.
I'm sorry, is it the Casey Thompson era over there? Because I thought it was the Malik Murphy era already.
Hey, that's your boy though. Hey. Listen, it's a new day in Sarkville, man. It's a new day in Austin, Texas. I'm not gonna beat my chest, and I know you're trolling already with "Are we back yet?" and all the nonsense you've been posting on here, but there is a reason for optimism. There is a reason, especially now that we have a national championship, Broyles Award winner, Steve Sarkeesian, and coming in and actually hiring a grown-up adult staff, something that we've missed here with our previous, couple head coaching hires. So there's a real reason for optimism, I think, in year one, RJ.
All right, first I gotta go at this because you bring up Steve Sarkeesian and the new era and whatnot. Yo, man, didn't Tom Herman win a national championship as an offensive coordinator?
And he won a Broyles Award.
Just throw it. It feels like y'all going back to the same old playbook is what it feels like. Feels like you decided you wanted to go, be kind of sort of approaching good with a new face. That's how it felt. You know what I mean? But I get what you want. First, why you got to throw shade at the entire staff? You threw shade at the entire staff. I get it.
Look,
Jeff Banks is that dude. Kyle Flood is that dude, right? We go down the list, Blake Gideon. But you was really that upset with him?
I mean, upon further review, let's call a spade a spade. Those were G5 coaches that Tom brought over the first time. And when you have unlimited resources at the University of Texas, you need to act as such. And when you look at Jeff, like you said, Jeff Banks, Kyle Flood, even Coach Kwiatkowski and all the brilliant hires, in my opinion, on paper, it's a much stronger resume driven group where you're like, okay, let's at least get to the point where we're not having to turn the staff over from they're not performing perspective 2 years from now versus having the conversation of, oh, how do we fill this person's spot because they're killing it at their position. Texas hasn't been able to have those conversations in a long time.
I saw they kept staying though, and I was happy to see that because Drayton been on another level in that recruiting. But your running back coach, I feel like is always going to be your best recruiter. That is the way that they set up the staff. Robert Gillespie going from North Carolina to Alabama is not an accident, right? Charles Huff going from being running backs coach at Alabama to being a head coach at Marshall is not an accident. DeMarco Murray getting on at Oklahoma is not an accident. And then for Sark to look around and be like, the kids love Stan. And Stan brought in Bijan. Stan brought in Roshan, right? The running backs depth chart has never been a real issue for y'all. Even losing Keontae Ingram to USC, you would think is perhaps a big deal. But it turns out not to be, right? Now, I'm not the biggest Keontae Ingram fan, right? I liked him coming out of Carthage, but, I liked his little brother coming out of Carthage too. We'll see what happens over there. But, if I'm going down that staff and I'm looking at the accolades that they have put together and the kind of wins that they've got, like Jeff Banks going to get Kamara Wheaton toward the end there, right? Getting Jason McClellan in the boat, right? That's a running back, though. Those are running backs. What you have been missing, in my opinion, right, as a dude that rocks with you and rocks with Texas fans, but you know what it is. We don't need to go through that. I always thought that you weren't getting enough out of the defense. Caden Stearns was that dude. Matter of fact, I did a interview with Jalen Waddle, right? And the reason
I saw that. Really good interview. I like that kid.
I like him too. He was down to play and we had a good time. But one of the things I touched on was He was the only player among the top 15 in the state of Texas to choose not to go, not just to leave Texas, but not to go to A&M or UT. He won a national championship. A&M can't get past Alabama in the SEC West, and y'all can't get past Oklahoma in the Big 12. And I'm looking at the talent, and I'm going, well, y'all had it. Y'all had it. A&M got it. So is it really just going to be about what Pete Kwiatkowski can do and what Blake Gideon can do and what those dudes can do with the dudes I know you got, right? You know how much I love Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton. I mean, moving Joseph aside was the smartest thing that happened all last year, but it just didn't pan out. So, like, is it really the assistants? Because I've been saying development is key, but sometimes I look and I say, I don't know. If you're able to keep Malcolm for a little bit longer, or excuse me, not Malcolm, Malik Jefferson for a little bit longer, maybe that dude turns into a first-round pick for you. Is that why you were so upset with your quote-unquote G5 coaches?
Well, I mean, you look at the beginning, they came in at a point where some guys did get developed. I'm not trying to sell everybody under, everybody's short. Right. Oscar Giles was doing his job. Those defensive linemen that ended up getting underdrafted, in my opinion, the Charles Omenihu's of the world, the Poona Fords who go undrafted, Malcolm Roach last year who's undrafted, and he ends up making the 53 and playing in a playoff game, right? So they've had coaches on the staff that can have success with these guys and develop them. My issue overall with the staff, though, is when you look at some of these heavy hitters, the offensive line, you're talking about the defense. Defensively, they've recruited pretty well, RJ, in my opinion. Yep. Some of these guys, it was more of a development issue. Like Kwiatkowski, is he lauded as a super recruiter, or is he lauded as a guy who develops talent and gets him spun back over to the NFL? Like that's more of what Texas needs, I think, on that side of the ball. I think where the recruiting comes up short is your offensive line coach, because that's such an important hire. And Texas, you had the Corby Meekins of the world the very first year, and then you go to Herb Hand, and Herb Hand just didn't get it done. And I love Herb Hand, but he wasn't getting it done. And that trickles into the play calling and the coaching and everything else. And so getting somebody like a Kyle Flood, like, I'll put it to you this way, RJ. Texas went and hired the people that ruined our 2021 recruiting cycle. Mm. If you really think about it, Steve Sarkeesian, Kyle Flood, Jeff Banks, they're the ones that were taking all these kids to Texas in the first place in 2021. So we went and hired them. So it's like, on the flip side of it, they seem to really understand that dynamic and that mix of getting the talent on board and getting these kids developed and showcased for the NFL.
So you mentioned what Jeff Banks and what Kyle Flood, among others, have been able to do, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up the 21 Alabama recruiting class, and they're the Brockermeyer twins. They're from Fort Worth. There's Kendrick Blackshear, who's been a 40-year-old man since he was 15 years old. Man, that dude. There's Jalen Milroe, who was in the boat and who name-checked your man Mike Yurcich on the way out. Like, that was good grief, right? And then, I know I wasn't your guy, and then you get Nick Saban on the phone going, but you mind? Like, what? I mean, you go down the list, right? So, rather than just continue to dunk on kids from Texas leaving to go at Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, you went and you paid top dollar to bring those dudes in to keep those guys not just in the state, but going to the flagship university in the state of Texas. Now, I wanted to pick up on this bit, right? Because recruiting, I think, is where this Texas staff should shine, and it remains to be seen about development. Now, Kyle Flood and what he's done with that offensive line in the period that he's been there, no argument from me, right? I don't know how much I expect to really rely on a special teams coach in Jeff Banks to develop people, but that's part of the job. You one of the assistants, you get credit for all of that. I have a question as it pertains to how good is the class going to be, because we're talking about 2019 when Texas finishes number 5 in the country, I believe, in recruiting. And now, you got Malik Murphy, who decided to come on his own doggone terms to UT to take a drive around. My man is from California. All right, let's talk about Malik real quick, because I think that there are some folks that aren't savvy to who Malik Murphy is. 6'4", right? Has all the tools. And I get, we talking about this. How come everybody want to compare their dude to Cam Newton while nobody wants to give Cam Newton any credit is beyond me. 2015 MVP, took him all the way to
Isn't that funny?
Right. Everybody want a Cam Newton type. Don't nobody want to give Cam Newton his props. That said, like, what is your feeling about Malik Murphy, and how do you feel about him taking a visit, self-guided, as the term is now during the dead period, to UT?
Sure. So those are you're digging into now the ties that Steve Sarkeesian has back towards the West Coast. Obviously being the former coach at USC and his time at Washington, he understands that dynamic very well. Now, California, they didn't play high school football last year, and Malik was one of those guys that in the camp circuit, 7-on-7s, all those type of things, was just tearing it up. And you see, just the any of the times you get to see him throw, the raw arm talent is insane, and he's massive, like you said. Now, when people see big arm and black and he's tall, they think Cam Newton and things of that sort, and it's annoying. But moving forward, he's got some of that presence. I'm going to compare him to one of my brothers that just won a Super Bowl here, Mr. Byron Leftwich, back in the day. Like I see some similarities there to his time at Marshall when he broke all those records and was a top 10 pick.
But Byron was a statue.
Right. I'm saying though, in terms of the good traits that Byron had, Malik actually movement wise, throwing on the run, very, very good. Very, very good. I'm more so talking about, he's a guy though that Byron, he could hit that back foot and then launch the thing 50 yards and hit somebody right in the hands. Like that's a rare trait, especially for a high school kid. So, and we're talking about, Quinn Ewers, if he stays solid to Ohio State, and I hope we get to talk about some of these Ohio State quarterback things here later, but, if he stays solid over there, where does Texas move to? And so leveraging those relationships on the West Coast, also some other players at some of those other high schools that Malik has ties to, that Steve Sarkeesian will also have ties to. So we're opening ourselves up, not just to hold down Texas, which is a priority, don't get me twisted, but also what Alabama's doing. When you look at Alabama's national championship game and the whole defense, or the whole secondaries from Fort Lauderdale and Miami, they're not discriminating on where they're getting some of these brothers from. So Texas needs to, I think, follow that same path of thinking with their recruiting.
No, Sarkeesian having an understanding of the West Coast is terribly important, right? But like you do closing as a head coach. You don't really do recruiting as a head coach. You take on a couple that are very important to you. Like Nick Saban is still recruiting JT Tuimoloau out of Washington. But like the thing that bothers me about the West Coast ties for Sarkeesian and Kwiatkowski is that I don't get a read on whether Kwiatkowski was the brains of the defense or the dude bringing guys in. Because they had, and with my whole heart I love this, they had a defensive unit that was nicknamed Death Row, which my whole heart, right? And Vita Vea is that dude, right? Taylor Rapp was that dude. Byron Murphy was that dude. Buda Baker was that dude. He can develop them, right? And that's been what we've all been dunking on Texas for, is you get all these dudes and they stay a 5-star in high school. They don't develop into a first-round draft pick 3 years or even 4 years later, right? You mentioned all these dudes that you say were underdrafted. I tend to think that the NFL doesn't actually deal in trying not to draft people,
Those guys were more, the guys I was referring to though, they weren't the 5-star guys. Your point is valid in terms of the 5-star guys that don't turn into first-round picks. That's why we've had, that's some of the negative recruiting that is easily used against Texas. So I'm talking about is guys who are, lower tier recruits, 3 stars or lower 4 stars that ended up getting developed. So Texas has had some success there, but to your point, they need to hit, when they get a Jatavian Sanders there, Jatavian Sanders needs to leave Texas as a first-round pick.
Right.
That's the point.
Right. No, that's 100%. So like, and thinking about Murphy, the other reason I think this is important is you hit on the pipeline in the West Coast, right? You already went to Saguaro a couple of times, right? You can go get the Bijan Robinson of the world, and you proven that, right? So Arizona, I look at the state of Arizona, I say, if Herm Edwards or Jed Fish now was able to just lock up that state, they'd be competitive because they put out squads, right? California puts out squads. But what worries me is if you don't get Malik Murphy, where do you turn, right? Like, cool, you have a quarterback in the boat and you got him relatively early in the cycle. That's what it's going to take for you to have a top 5 recruiting class. Like, everywhere you look, getting that blue chip quarterback, preferably a 5-star quarterback in the boat, gives you the best opportunity to finish inside the top 5. And that's what we're talking about, right? The idea that LSU can finish with a top 3 recruiting class in a bad year, right? I believe 6-5 is the number for them. 5 losses.
Yeah.
Secondary violations, self-reported violations.
You brought up the violations, not me.
I don't care nothing about how they feel about it. It's the truth. Like, I don't care nothing about it. But, like, Ed Orgeron still closed. And he closed without a defensive coordinator. He closed firing a defensive coordinator. He closed losing his offensive scheme. Like, Ensminger retired, right? You bring in Jake Peets. You know, you bring in Durante Jones. Like, good coaches, but not names. You know what I mean? The only name that's still there is your man Orgeron, right? And yet, that class is still phenomenal. I look at it and I say, yeah, that's because they had Garrett Nussmeier in there early. Like, that dude committing in May of last year was tremendous for them. It kept them in the running for Corey Foreman. It allowed them to lock up Mason Smith. I believe they got the top 4 players in the state of Louisiana for the first time since 2016. That's what I expect Texas to do next year. But if you don't miss on a dude like Malik Murphy, let's assume for the sake of the argument, you're not going to flip Quinn Ewers. Where else is there to look? And you know, that I don't expect you to have that answer, right? I do expect people to ponder it.
Yeah. So the other name that's become hot here in the state of Texas and more so locally is Cade Klubnik out of Westlake.
Beat Ewers at Westlake, yeah.
Yeah. That beat him in the state in the state championship in the Dodge Bowl. So that would be the move. And I know he has, I think, legacy ties to A&M, but that's a guy that could win, especially with Steve being there locally and him being the quarterback whisperer, could pivot and get that done. So I'm not terribly freaked out about the quarterback situation for 2022, honestly. With the options that are on the table, there's different directions they can go.
So you brought up Cade, right? And you brought up the Dodge Bowl. And I'm that dude that I'm sitting in my partner's house on a Saturday night, and she's like, "What you want to watch?" I'm like, "State championship game. State championship game. You want to watch what? I want to watch the state championship game, please. Can I do that?" I mean, I guess. I mean, it's your job and whatnot. And it's like, damn, we really gonna watch some 17-year-olds play high school football? Be like, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I do. Like,
what did you leverage to get it on the TV? Was it a foot rub? Like, what goes it? What's your negotiation to get that on the TV?
So we got a local restaurant here that is called The Brook, right? There are a couple of them, right? But it's local, right? They got a Philly cheesesteak and some fries and a quesadilla that I will crush, that she will crush. And I brought it.
Okay.
I brought those dishes home before I asked, can we watch the state championship? Right? Your man was premeditated. Okay.
Hey, steady scheming, baby.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? We're not trying to show up here dry. No. We got to show up here with the goodies. Talking about, hey, you see this cheesesteak? You see these fries? You see this quesadilla? You see this from your joint? All right. I got the red stripe in the core. Do you want all of this? Let me put this little on. Let me. Come on. Now, all I'm asking is cast it for a little bit. That's it. Cast it for a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And then we'll watch a movie, right? We'll watch whatever you want to watch, right? We'll watch Flack or whatever, you know? And so I got to watch the Dodge Bowl. I got to see what Riley and Todd look like. But more importantly, like, I'm showing up there to see what Quinn Ewers look like. And we'll talk about the Ohio State quarterbacks here in a little bit. But, like, Cade Klubnik ends up stealing the show with that dudes like Jalen Greathouse, right? I think Brady Boyd ends up at Minnesota. He's there as a true freshman. But check this out. How's this for a comp for you on Cade Klubnik.
I'm ready.
Colin Kaepernick.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nevada version when they were running the pistol with Chris Alt, or more developed,
like Niners taking him to the Super Bowl. With his running style, his ability to run, yes, and
I'm looking at his stride,
and look at his release. Right now, I don't know if he can hit 95 on a gun like Kaepernick could, but it's very much the same sort of player, right? Like he'll take it, he'll pull it down, he'll tuck it, and he'll go. But the offense was also, we're gonna hand it to this dude going to Yale in the back, and we're gonna dare y'all to stop us. And when you don't do that, then we'll take one-on-one. But if that's gone, your man's Cade will take off running. Right?
Hey, the brother that was going to Yale, he coming to Texas now.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm. Preferred walk-on.
I missed that. that. Okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah, and the other dude that White Lightning over there at corner is that got the one-handed pick. Like my man Jason Sehorn back in the day, he's coming to Texas too as a preferred walk-on.
First of all, I'm a shorten White Lightning to Moonshine. Right? We gonna have to learn this child's name. And then we're going to just have to call him Moonshine from here on out. Okay? That's what we call him. We call him Moonshine. But how about you referencing the only white cornerback people know about? Like, the only one.
The only one.
So I did this bit that I could never put up that was about white cornerbacks in the NFL and how there ain't none. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, you hear tell about a dude like Dustin Fox that might appear. And he would be moved to safety.
He got moved to safety.
Yeah. Like, I think Eric Weddle tried to come in and was like, I'm going to play corner. Like,
Eric Weddle was a hybrid out of Utah. Yeah.
Right,
and they were
he made the Wildcat in vogue. Yeah. They said, you playing safety. And, it worked out for him. But, like, I'm looking at all these white dudes around here like, nah, I can play corner. I believe in you. I believe you can do that. I believe you can go do that. I believe they're going to move you to safety just as quickly as they can. I'm always fascinated about that. So don't believe that it missed me when I saw the white dudes out there going, nah. See, you on my island now. You on the numbers with me.
They got to put that guy's interception on a white man can't jump poster. You got to, like, that meme has to exist somewhere.
Oh, my God.
They have to have that.
I need it. But he's going to Texas now, right?
He's going to Texas.
Oh, man. All right. Blake Gideon. Move that man in the corner. Don't let that man play no safety. Blake, move that man in the corner. Look, you see me looking at you, Blake. Move that man in the corner. Let that man shine. Let him get his get on. But I like Cade Klubnik as a Colin Kaepernick type, but I don't know if that works with the kind of offense they want to run. I say that. You can make an offense work with Mac Jones, making him the most efficient passer in history. You can run that kind of offense with Cade Klubnik. It's like that. Like, that's the part of Steve Sarkeesian that I think folks should get gassed up about.
Right, because Mac Jones is not similar in a lot of ways to Tua. And he made it work with both of them. And Sark's explained kind of the differences and some of the nuances. I mean, they're both accurate, which is a good, which is important.
You need that, right?
Right. The accuracy comes first. But in terms of, decision making and the things that they do, even the things how they operate the line of scrimmage. And he talked about just the discernible differences between what Tua does and what Mac Jones does and how they operate. But hey, you talented, you accurate. I can build whatever offense we need to do around y'all.
Can we break it down on the whole? So I talked with Joe Klatt in the watch party for the national championship game, right? And I asked him, who is Mac Jones for him? And he said he's a poor man's Joe Burrow. And the only thing
that.
Right. Mm-hmm. The only thing he's slighting him for is charisma. And I'm like, yo, Joe ain't the fastest dude in the world, though I think he's plenty fast enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say the mobility is substantial between Joe and Mac.
I think Mac could get drafted late in the first round. I think Mac could have a great NFL career. I think Mac could win a Super Bowl given the right opportunity and the right scheme, just like most of the quarterbacks are gonna be drafted in the first round. Only one of them I'm all the way out on. But Mac is pudgy and slow. Okay? I only know about one slow dude out here winning Super Bowls today. Everybody else got to be able to throw a football horizontally and hit people in the face mask. Okay? Everybody else got to have 4.2 speed and throw a football over the mountains. Okay? I don't want a quarterback back there that is a sitting duck. And that is what Mac Jones is. He is a sitting duck. If we chase him out of the pocket, he's ours. We're going to kill him. Okay? That is, to win a national championship with that dude, you got to have all the other dudes around him. Okay? Mac Jones might be the 5th or 6th best player on that offense. Right? Because think about it. Waddle, Smith, Najee, Leatherwood. Then you can get to Landon Dickerson, right? And then maybe you can start to have a conversation about Mac Jones, but I would throw Evan Neal in your face. Then I would throw Jaleel Billingsley in your face. And then we can have an argument about Miller Fillerstall or Mac Jones.
Hey, you better slow down because you put a lot of disrespect on Mac Jones' name right now. They about to come for you.
But everybody else is gassing the dude up. They gassing him up. Meanwhile, the man that beat Clemson with half a hip, not just beat him like they stole something. Okay? Not just beat them, destroyed them. The man loaded up 50 yards, threw that ball to Olave. No, go get this. As I'm limping around. The man couldn't even carry out a fake. And he still put 500, 600 on Clemson's head, right? In a game where Trevor Lawrence didn't play bad, right? I think he had 400 yards passing. But people still trying to tell me about Mac Jones, and they don't want to talk word one about Justin Fields. And I'm like, have you noticed that Justin Fields would have been drafted by Major League Baseball? Matter of fact, I'm writing that story for Fox. Big profile about Justin. I'm talking to his pops. His pops told me he got calls from GMs in December saying, please make that child graduate in the spring. Why would I do that? Because then we can draft him. And then we can pay him. He can show up, do his 30 days, and then we got his rights and he got his money, and he can go back to playing college football. And Justin said, no. I'm a quarterback. I'm going to Georgia to compete for this job because he looked at Jake Fromm and thought what the rest of us thought. Oh, I'm going to beat him. Which to me means that the man never really got an opportunity to beat Jake Fromm. Because we know damn well Jake Fromm ain't the dude that Justin Fields is. Plenty good and playing the NFL. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if Mac Jones was Jake Fromm, we'd be talking and dragging Mac Jones the way we talking and dragging Jake Fromm. Meanwhile, Justin Fields is just there. And people try to talk noise about my mans. So you talk about they gonna come for me. Come on! Come on! The facts is the facts.
You're ready for the smoke. You're ready for the smoke.
But the facts is the facts. You with me on this, right? You see what I see.
So I actually agree with you in terms of where I have Mac Jones if I were to draft him. If I were to draft him, I think he needs to go to a better team later in the first round. I still think he's a first rounder. Just based upon his, intangibles. I do think there is some arm talent there. I like the way he throws the ball down the field. Again, decision-making accuracy, boom, 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 and he's quick in terms of getting rid of the football. But to your point about all the studs you get to play with, didn't we see Tua kind of struggle with this too in Miami? He's starting to throw the ball to people. Granted, the windows in the NFL are much tighter. But he's like, oh, you can't make that catch because Judy could make that catch. So or Devontae could make that catch.
When I talk to NFL people about that, they say it was Chan Gailey's offense. The offense they ran limits what he can do within it. Right? Now, I think Devontae Parker's a dude. Okay?
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't have anybody. Yeah, I like Devontae Parker.
Yeah, no, I mean, and not for nothing, but they had the best DB in the entire league last year. I think dude had 10 interceptions. Okay,
yeah.
But also, Mac couldn't beat out Tua, right? Tua beat out Jalen. Hello,
True.
Hello, and everybody knows how I feel about Jalen. Although I'm conflicted about it because I just learned that the man throws up the hooks, but apparently he went over after college, because I was like, how do I not know that this man threw up the hooks? Of all people to know, I would know, right? You're
supposed to be on top of that, bro.
I'm saying though, right? And the man threw up the hooks in I think it's the Washington game. But I was like, wait a second, Jalen throws up the hooks? And I had to go reach out to some peoples. And it was like, yeah, I think he went over after. You all right, you good, you didn't miss nothing. I'm like, okay, cool. Because I was feeling some kind of way. But you know who else was able to go and win a job? Not Mac Jones, right? Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts went and won a job. put what's his face on the what was it? What's man's name?
Blake
Barnett,
win?
put him on the
Did he
bench.
win? Oh, I thought you were okay. I thought you were talking about Philadelphia for a second.
No, that's something else. That's something else.
Yeah.
But like,
okay, yeah, Blake Barnett. No, I got you.
Right, and then Blake Sims showed up, put people on the bench. You know what I mean? Mac Jones out there just be like, "No, I'm gonna be here." And then everybody's thinking, nice bridge for Bryce Young. We know what it's gonna be with Bryce Young. But the dudes that he had, and he's like, he's talking about he's accurate, he's the most efficient passer. I mean, wasn't y'all talking that way about Baker? How come y'all didn't like Baker the way y'all like Mac Jones? Huh? How come everybody was poo-pooing him being number 1 overall pick? It's because the man did not keep it to himself.
Well, yeah, it's because of who it is, right? Baker himself.
Right.
And at that time, you have to remember, too, the Big 12 with the quarterback thing, like Mahomes has kind of changed some of that. But like when Baker came out, I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, he plays in the Big 12." Even though he had thrown the ball against Georgia, he'd thrown the ball against Ohio State, like other schools they balled out. But we got to factor that in too. But the Mac Jones thing, if whoever's drafting him, you have to, your pass pro is going to have to be on point. Like there's going to have to,
and you can't have you a team drafting highly. Like they're not. Like who is going to draft him that already has an offensive line in place to take care of him?
The Colts. The Colts could make a move like that because they're coming off of a dude that couldn't move either. Like I could see him working in situations like that. I could see the Colts. Honestly, the Steelers could potentially be a move, or a team like the Patriots that was already kind of used to a stationary type of quarterback. But the thing is, the types of teams that he's a fit for are, it's the mobile guys give you a broader spectrum. It just is what it is right now.
Nah, and that's what I'm about, right? Like I'm going back through my some stories that I know about some black players from back in the day playing at like Tennessee State, Grambling, whatnot, and I'm amazed at just all this talent that came out of, like, at one point there were 38 black players from HBCUs that were all pro from 1963 to 1968. And they are trying to say we can't play quarterback because, well, like, y'all move around. Yeah, because you need to be able to do that now, right? And you need to be able to do that then. But I'm going to get back on topic here. So in thinking about what Steve Sarkeesian's been able to do and what he was able to do with Matt, with the Joker, I'm looking at Kyle Flood going, all right, get that offensive line right. Because it's like Sam Cosmi was wasted. Full stop. Like, knowing how you throwing screen passes to that dude. I never forget that. West Virginia. Nah, we gonna throw it back to him. To an offensive lineman? To a tackle?
They did have an awesome big man collision in the end zone too, with one of the Stills brothers, which was hilarious.
But no, like, that's what I want to see. I want to see Kyle Flood work his magic on that offensive line, right? You got skill players. You're always going to have skill players. That's what's so infuriating about Texas, right? It's not that you just got Bijan. It's that Jake is still there. It's that Jordan Whittington is still there, right? It's that Joshua Moore. Let me say his whole name, mama. Joshua Moore is still there, right? I mean, yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your Ohio State quarterbacks. Where were you wanting to go with this?
So I want to get I have a couple things. CJ Stroud, who, you brought up Blake Barnett. CJ Stroud, former Elite 11 MVP. A lot of these names that we've brought up are whether it's Tua, and some of the other people that we discussed already, just his presence and how Ohio State's recruited, this quarterback room and going into 2022. So they got Stroud out of California. He played a little bit last year behind Justin Fields. Then you have Jack Miller from Arizona, who was injured coming out of high school, but he's got, live arm talent, and he's big. He's 6'4" himself. And then you have the kid from Philadelphia, McCord, coming in, who, when you look at his film, it's like, okay, I can see why Zach Poff and people like that were excited about him potentially winning that job. So I think that's one of the most fascinating quarterback battles because of what kingdom they'll inherit. It's insane, the Ohio State wide receiver room and the weapons that they'll have right off right off jump. But when I'm looking at this brother C.J. Stroud and his story out of California, because he didn't come up the traditional path.
Rancho Cucamonga. That's where the man's from. That's where he's from. Yeah, I know. Like somebody got that.
I always laugh because that's the high school from Bring It On. Go Toros.
It's also where next Friday is set.
You're right.
Yep. That's what I always think about. I always think about Rancho Cucamonga in the context of Cube.
Day-Day's uncle.
Yeah. Uncle Elroy.
Day-Day's dad. Day-Day's, yeah.
And Craig's uncle.
Craig's uncle, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You're right.
And Chico and Big Joker and Baby Joker and Little Joker.
And Little Joker. Yep.
All right, so Rancho Cucamonga and C.J. Stroud.
I think, you know, when you see people that have the story like that the young man does, and how he kind of willed himself into the whole, because I started with the Elite 11 thing.
Right.
Because he ended up as Elite 11 MVP and he came out of nowhere.
Right.
That doesn't normally happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people like that those type of things catch my attention, because that tells me that you have the temperament ready to handle some of the things, the pressures at Ohio State, because people are going to expect the party to keep going. Like, they're not going to want to wait for, you know, development, especially with him already having a year under his belt, being there, and what Ryan Day's already done with the last two quarterbacks he's had. I know Urban Meyer was there technically, but Ryan Day was instrumental with Dwayne Haskins, and then transitioning right into Justin Fields and what he did coming in. I look at this brother C.J. Stroud, and I think he could be the next one.
I've obviously been following his journey for the better part of 18 months now, right? So let me walk this out for folks, because I feel like the Jack Miller clan is about to come for everybody. Now, and because I'm the person saying Jack Miller's name, I don't know anybody else saying Jack Miller's name.
Jack Miller's really good for the Jack Miller clan. Yeah, that's why this is a conversation.
Right, but I'm just throwing that out there, right? Because like, I put a poll up on the community tab on my channel. Speaking of which, there is a pinned comment from the only other moderator on the channel, Dr. Winston O'Boogie. Go subscribe to Fanatic Perspective. That is Steven's channel. They do excellent work. Obviously talking about Texas, but he gets into basketball. He gets into Dallas Cowboys. Y'all know me. I don't really mess with college basketball like that. I'm not that kind of dude. But Steven over there about it. Now, when Patty Gasso came out today and said, this is going to be the best outfield we've ever had, the most athletic infield that we've ever had, you have my attention, OU softball. That said, the C.J. Stroud story is awesome because it's what we missed all of last year and what we might miss most of this year. That man was ranked 843rd in March of 2020. He went to Elite 11 in California and rode those regionals to becoming Elite 11 MVP, earns an offer from Ryan Day and Ohio State, and becomes the second quarterback taken in that class. Jack Miller got in first in that July 2019 term. I think that timeline is right? Coming out of Arizona, coming out of, I think it was Chandler. I got to go check this out. But that dude didn't play behind an offensive line that was worth a damn, and still set an Arizona State record for passing touchdowns. Okay? He has the goods. He just doesn't have the story of Stroud, right? And both of those dudes end up 4 stars. People forget this. Kyle McCord is the only one on the depth chart who ended his career rated as a 5-star. And you mentioned coming out of St. Joe's and Philly. You know who else coming out of St. Joe's and Philly going up there at Ohio State? Marvin Harrison Jr., top 100 player and one of the better wide receivers in the country, right? Shout out Harvin Marison for those of y'all that understand that reference. But Kyle McCord's going to have somebody to throw to that he knows, that he's already formed a relationship with. And no matter what happens this year, he's going to compete again for it the next year and possibly the next. What you're worried about now at Ohio State, I think, is the transfer portal. But I made this argument earlier last week, and I will continue to make it. Ohio State is beginning to build the way that Alabama builds. You know, at last check, only 4 guys off the 2020 Alabama roster entered the transfer portal. 4. Dudes from Bama don't transfer. They buy in. They'll stay. They'll figure it out. Like, Najee Harris could have gone into the NFL draft last year, might have been a third, fourth round pick. Comes back, we're talking about him in the Heisman Trophy conversation because it was his turn, right? At Ohio State, you're looking at that wide receiver depth chart. And the question was, especially after Olave chose to come back, how are you going to make all these dudes happy? You're not. They only play 3 dudes at wide receiver, and they play them 300 snaps in those 8 games, right? It was Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson. Behind them, G. Scott, Jackson Smith, and Jigba.
Julian Fleming.
Yeah, right? The number 1 player in the country for ESPN and the number 1 wide receiver overall, right? They have dudes, okay? But if you're going to win national championships, you got to have dudes 1 through 85. And the only team that has not won a national championship that has had dudes 1 through 85 for the last 5 years, University of Georgia. Right. Hence the reason I put into the headline, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, because Texas done had them dudes. Texas had them dudes last year. Texas was my pick to threaten Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship, and Iowa State said, "Hold this, Texas." I'm saying, like, that's why it keeps coming back around in the Longhorns, right? Is when I look at the composite, when I look at the rankings, when I look at where the kids are coming from and where they're choosing to go. You go to Alabama, you're going to play for a national championship, you're going to win one. Every kid that has come through Alabama that has stayed for 3 years has won a national championship in the Nick Saban era. Ohio State, we went to the Fiesta Bowl in 2019. We were playing in the national championship game in 2020. The weakest position on our offense will be quarterback. And we got 2 4-stars and a 5-star there, right? That's what I expect Texas to be. Now, there are folks that are going to ask me over and over again what I expect JT Daniels to be. I expect him to be good. I don't expect him to be great. Unless Todd Monken can get through to him on reading coverages. Like, I watched the Peach Bowl, and the man saw 8 in the box and was still running the football. Like, you got to get him out of that. Don't you know how to get them out of that? Now, I get he got a late start, but he also threw for 392. So, like, can he be in the Heisman conversation? He will be if they're playing for a national championship or in the SEC championship game. But is he going to be great? I don't know, man. Like, would you take Sam Howell over JT Daniels, knowing full well everybody's expecting Spencer Rattler to be that dude? Yeah, I think you would. But, like, when you take a look at those dudes at Georgia and North Carolina, and you take a look at Ohio State, who's picking against Ohio State's quarterback room right now, other than perhaps Oklahoma?
And it's just because you haven't seen it yet with Ohio State. That's the only thing. You haven't seen it yet. Like, Sam Howell's dope, and he's gonna make a lot of money. Hopefully, health willing, he's gonna make a lot of money.
He's a Baker clone.
Next year. But look at all the people that North Carolina just sent to the league or that left the school. Like his 2 receivers, Michael Carter, who we all love, Javonte Williams, who had 19 touchdowns. Like, they're losing a lot of production. And Mac, my boy Mac's been recruiting. But again, we haven't seen what we haven't seen. Mm-hmm. Looking at JT Daniels, though, like, he has – so I don't know if you know this. I'm a card-carrying member of the George Pickens fan club. So he has some people around him to really – I mean,
Blaylock
it's Georgia.
Blaylock coming back.
Right.
Burton coming back. Jackson coming back.
And I mean, and then on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to get to see Keely Ringo this year. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to ask you, by the way. Okay. Because Keely Ringo was one of the guys that didn't play in 2020 either because of injury or opt-out. I look at people like Keely Ringo, Justin Ross from Clemson, who's coming back, and then your boy, Kennedy Brooks. Is Kennedy Brooks the best opt-out player coming back into college football? That didn't go to the draft? Like, I just want to pitch this idea because I get to talk to now my connect over here working for Fox, and you guys are doing wonderful, wonderful content on social media. My idea is like, put together like a little top 5 of like people who we didn't see play in 2020 that, like a top 5, not to be a top 10, but like, some of those type of guys who would have a tremendous impact, because you guys getting Kennedy Brooks back and him not going to the league is enormous. Justin Ross coming back to Clemson is enormous. So, that's just my little pitch there.
No. And you know what? I think it's a really good topic and segment. I'm going to try to walk this out. But the thing that would scare me about Ross and Blaylock in particular, as they're coming back off of injury. Now, with Blaylock, we know what an ACL injury can take, and we also know that you can bounce back from it. Like Amari Rodgers, I think blew out his ACL a couple years ago and didn't miss a step. Like, that dude is a mutant. And now his daddy, T. Martin, for those of y'all who don't know, is wide receiver coach at Baltimore, which we're like, yo, go get another short, fast dude to go along with Marquise Brown. One that can catch, preferably, because Marquise out here acting like he don't know how to catch these passes from Lamar all of a sudden. Yeah, I said it. But no, like, with Ross, yo, man, you had a spinal injury. You know?
Yeah.
Like, now, I say spinal injury. They found a reason to cut him open, right? And sew him back and to say, you might not be able to play football again. And technically, he still hasn't been cleared to play football. He's on track, but he hasn't been cleared. If he's the dude that he was in 2018, right? 2019, yeah, he's a monster. He's a monster. With DJ Uiagalelei throwing with a cannon for an arm, that's your dude. Yeah. But like when I look at Brooks, he's the only guy that opted out who was healthy of the group that you just listed.
Gotcha.
The problem I have with Kennedy Brooks is the problem that everybody's going to have when he goes in the NFL draft, which is, has that dude filled out yet? Because the vision is there, right? We know what kind of vision he has, and his speed is so deceptive that it looks like he's just, taking a dog for a walk as he's just going through these holes. And it's also tremendous for Oklahoma because Seth McGowan, Marcus Major, I expect them to be better than they were last year, but they weren't the answer. And TJ Pledger transfers to Utah, and Ramondre Stevenson goes into the NFL draft.
Utah, Big 12 West, baby.
Man, hey, look, I love Utah, okay? I love Utah this year. They returned everybody on defense. Devin Lloyd's a monster. Charlie Brewer, Quentin Jackson, Cam Rising, TJ Pledger, Chris Curry, all transfer in. Yo.
Dude, there's so many of us that now have a vested interest in Utah.
Man, or hey, USC. Xavier Alford, Keontae Ingram, Todd Orlando.
The University of Los Angeles, Austin over there.
Hey, what your man Brian Carrington doing over there?
Brian Carrington.
Yeah.
If you guys, by the way, if you didn't get a chance, for those of you who are watching right now, go check out my Brian Carrington video that we dropped last night, talking about that very, very topic. But yeah, Brian Carrington's going to LA. So all these Longhorns are over there. It's interesting. A lot of people out west.
Hey, man, look, there was an exodus. After your man, CDC, came out there and said, do you want me to call players and tell them that you're our head coach? You fired a man a month later. After you told everybody he's our coach of 2021, you fired a man. This is my problem with the University of Texas on the whole, right? And this is why I love college football as opposed to the NFL, because these things can happen. So the University of Texas got these millionaires that all want to stir the pot, okay? All want to stir the pot. They got to do what they want, okay? Problem I had with NFL owners is I can't fire them, right? Boosters, at least they're going to fight each other, so not one person gets to have one say, right? But even then, boosters die, It's and that power gets transferred. Now, I'm reading a story about the University of Texas and integration because I'm working on this big project for Fox. And one of the things that a Texas Monthly writer named Gary Cartwright carried out was, Darrell Royal was late, but he was later still because what Gary Cartwright called the Orange Coats told him the first black player at the University of Texas better be 2 steps faster than Jesus and be able to run through a brick wall. I died. I fell out laughing. My man wrote that in 1976. All right? Knowing all of that, take into account how many coaching searches has Texas been through since Mac Brown?
3.
Okay. How many has Alabama been through since Nick Saban?
None.
How much money do you think has been doled out in buyouts to get rid of Charlie Strong, Mac Brown, and now Tom Herman?
I'm not smart enough to count that much money.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's just say it's a cool $100 million right now. Where does that $100 million come from? Boosters. Guess what boosters want in return for their money? Say so. Like, it was wild interesting to me to watch the Auburn head coaching search kind of go out, right? Because, shout out to my man, John Schulte over at AL.com, senior sports editor at AL.com. dude was on it. John Talty was on it, talking about, one dude wanted to have Kevin Steele get the job. That's why the money was put up for the $21 million to buy out Gus Malzahn, right? And you basically had Bo Jackson and them tell that dude to shove it, and you had the athletic director over there going, fire me. I want Brian Harsin. So I'm interested to see how that goes, right? Because the buyout is the buyout. So I think with Texas in particular, soon as y'all stop buying people out, soon as y'all stop taking money from people to buy people out, CDC gets to start making some decisions. It's going to be all right. But it's never been that way at Texas because they just buy people out. Like, problem I had with Texas, really, CDC was doing a damn thing at TCU. Why? Gary Patterson's the guy. Gary Patterson's going to be the guy. It's going to be hard to get Gary Patterson up out of there when it's going bad, too. But because they only had the one dude, they could build something. Is Steve Sarkeesian going to be that dude? I don't think so, because the history says for the last 50 years, y'all ain't had no patience for guys. Mac Brown had to go in there and win right away.
So that's the right away part. You look at your team, right? Bob Stoops won in year 2,
right?
And he won a natty in year 2.
Right. So
you gotta. So from CDC's perspective, I whether regardless of how you feel about Steve Sarkeesian, my thing with CDC is how he decided to move, knowing what he has to deal with. Like, he took this job, I think, knowing the pressure and all that goes into the Texas boosters, and I think it got real, especially around, after the Tom Herman debacle and Urban Meyer's name's getting thrown around, and they're trying to go after Urban Meyer. I think after all of that died and he put out the dreaded vote of confidence behind Tom Herman was actually when he went to work, right? And so because with that search committee that ends up at Steve Sarkeesian, they did go through a thorough process once it came down to just him, Jay Hartzell, and Kevin Teifel from the Board of Regents. That was it. It was 3 people. And they went in and they actually went through their own vetting process. And CDC is just like, look, I got to navigate the best I can with these people. So I do think he's sharp enough and shrewd enough to work within the confines of this. But yeah, it's going to come down to Texas is going to have to win fast. Like, there's not going to be patience here. People just saw Steve Sarkeesian tear it up at Alabama. But the skepticism is, well, we saw a lot of offensive coordinators tear it up at Alabama. Now, what he did, you can talk about his former, ties as a head coach and what he's learned from some of those things. I also think, RJ, we talked about this before offline. Do people like you? Do people like you? Because that's where you kind of get that extra year and those things. Like when Charlie Strong got fired, even though a lot of Texas fans wanted him fired because of performance, it was hard because we liked him as a person. The players liked him. Like, you didn't have, random contingents of people that used to be a part of the program, trashing you. And so that's something I even myself had to kind of come into line of thinking, especially when we have reports coming out after the fact of, how he was in the building in terms of Tom Herman and treating people. Do people like you? You look at Steve Sarkeesian, he looks like he's been through life and he's genuine. And he's hiring a staff and he's saying all the right buzzwords. We're in the honeymoon phase right now. It's very obvious. Everything he's saying is different from, it's different from Tom Herman, and it's what we want to hear as a fan base. Absolutely. Like, I used to talk to Tran about, the Tom Herman specials in games where you come out off a kickoff and, you're getting called for delay a game because you can't snap the ball in time, or, clock management issues. Like, we're hoping, those things get fixed, or we don't forget about Bijan Robinson for 2 quarters. We're hoping that those common sense issues are just repaired with that particular uptick with him being there. But the moment that Texas proverbially struggles with Louisiana in the first game or whatever, because Tom Herman, we went through this honeymoon period with him too when he first got here. And then what happened? We went and lost to Maryland in the first game. And it got real. So they're doing. That's why I started this whole conversation with you on the staff. The staff is critical now. Kyle Flood is here to recruit and hit on 2022. But the kids that are there right now, that starting five that's going out there, they got to be good right away, RJ. They got to be good right away.
Or it's going to get ugly real quick. Like, the only thing that I think could save you from a faltering start to, say, Rice or Louisiana is 100% beating Oklahoma. But I don't see that in 2021. Like, I saw it in 2020, it didn't happen. I ain't see it in 2021. They're loaded for bear. Like, I believe in Bill Connolly's returning production, or SP Plus, not returning production, but in SP Plus, they're ranked number 3 behind Clemson and Alabama. I think Ohio State's at 4, right? And I think Texas is at 20. So it's not out of the realm of possibility at any stretch. But, it's the same thing every year with Texas and OU. Everybody wants to throw out the records, but the record says Oklahoma's going to be here. All right. So I wanted to get at this for a little bit, and it's some news that dropped today. Clemson linebacker Mike Jones decided to transfer to LSU. Mike Jones was crucial.
Who? Hey, do you know the number? You want to give him the number, bro? I'm sorry. You walked right into it. You walked right into it.
I did.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to screw up the news report.
281-330-8004.
There you go. Say it with your chest. All right, go ahead. Go ahead and give him the news, RJ.
There's no. See, everybody should understand why that man has Mike Jones Jr. tacked on his name. Oh my God. All right. So the man chose transfer to LSU. And he did it the same day that Brian Thomas announced his commitment to LSU. That was Tuesday. So who is Mike Jones was a linchpin for the Clemson defense. So much so that I and I think a couple other very smart college football people weren't talking about Trevor Lawrence being out for the Notre Dame game because we knew what it was going to be with DJ Uiagalelei, right? And I was telling people, you ain't got to worry about DJ. I wrote about him because I was asked to write about him, but I was like, you ain't got to worry about DJ. DJ going to be there. He went for 439.
DJ was good enough to win last year, honestly.
Right. 439, 2 TDs against Notre Dame, okay? Mm-hmm. No matter what you think about Notre Dame, made the playoff, right? And
put up 40-something on the board.
Right. And got a W against the number 1 team in the country. But on defense, they were without a defensive tackle and 2 starters in the linebacker. One of them was Mike Jones. The other one was James Skalski. So Mike Jones, knowing that Barrett Carter and them is coming in, knowing that the Venables are taking over the linebacker position.
The Venables, yes.
I mean, that's what it is.
It is what it is. No, I'm with you.
Decides to transfer to LSU, and I think that's interesting because Jabril Cox made that same decision to transfer from North Dakota State to LSU last year as a grad transfer. What do we expect LSU's defense to look like? Because for the sake of this discussion, on February 10th, Eli Ricks is playing in their secondary. Okay?
That was going to be my very first question to you.
Right. Derek Stingley Jr. is playing in their secondary. Okay? Cordell Flott is back. They're adding to that. You're going to have a new defensive scheme, and you don't know what you're going to get out of this coordinator in Durante Jones just because nobody's seen it, right? Nobody's seen it.
Sure.
How big a deal do you expect a dude like Mike Jones to be for for LSU?
For LSU.
In 2021.
Well, I mean, just meshing, like you said, with the back end, I think they're going to be straight back there. It's just more so what's in front of them because Jabril Cox, as good as he was in coverage, he struggled against the run a little bit, and that's kind of hurt his NFL. Now he's still going to go probably top 3 rounds, I'd say, without looking at any mocks or anything, just off my eye. But, guys like Mike Jones who are coming in there in a new scheme, it is a large unknown, RJ. I think you're spot on with that, but it's got to be better than what they were getting under Mr. Pelini last year.
Got fired before the year was out. That man didn't. I think he had like a John L. Smith type tenure. Like I think he might have lasted like 8 months. Like
he was like the Simpsons meme where the guy comes in, hangs his coat, picks it back up, and leaves. That's what he was.
But you know what? He put on the ski mask and hit him with the stick up. put the money in the bag. Like, they had to pay him the full amount of his buyout by January 31st. Put the money in the bag.
Oh, shout out to the agent.
That's what I'm saying, dog. Like, the ski mask way. You know what I'm saying?
Bag secured.
Showed up, robbed him, and left. Like,
we got to start showing more love to these agents. Like, we didn't even mention the other side. Like, Scott Linehan came over there and got a bag too when he shouldn't have.
Golly, right? And
why'd they hire him? Like,
and I think he's on as offensive coordinator for Urban at Jacksonville.
Really? I don't even know the staff like that.
I know
he got Charlie Strong over there.
And Ash is over there. Right?
And Ash, yeah.
But like, I swear I read this. I gotta look this up since we on, right? Because somebody gonna get in the comments be like, "You were wrong about Scott Linehan." Be like, "All right, cool. Let me see Scott Linehan." St. Louis.
Scott Linehan gonna be calling plays for Trevor Lawrence next year?
I think that's what it is. He was a candidate for the Jaguars job. Let's see if he got it. Let me see. Nah, all I got is a candidate. Let me see who their offense coordinator is. Because like, I remember reading that. I was going, wait, what? Urban, you gonna do what? Don't do that. Like, we are, like, because I was out on the Scott Linehan hire at the jump, and LSU fans tried to show up and tell me I was wrong. They don't ever want to show up and tell me when I'm right. They told me they was gonna catch 5 losses too. They didn't want to show up then neither.
They were on their high. So while you're looking that up, I want to speak to that too, because I said the same thing. Darrell Bevel?
Yeah, he's the offense coordinator. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, they were on their high horse last year. I'm like, okay, you guys lost a gajillion people to the NFL. No, so-and-so, yes, that was a 5-star. Like, there's a ramp period, especially during COVID with new coordinators, and they're just gonna act like, well, Joe Brady was just a piece of it. Joe Burrow was just a piece of it. Like, how many people are you guys gonna discount before you realize it has an impact on your football team? Oh man, they skipped out on an ass whooping from us not coming to Death Valley.
Hey, look. The only time that it hasn't mattered is at Alabama. Like, that man lost 15 analysts and assistants combined, and we're not flinching. Because one, it hasn't mattered, and 2, he replaced Kyle Flood, who was a former college football head coach, with friggin' Doug Marrone, a former NFL head coach. He replaced his offensive coordinator with Bill O'Brien, who is trash at running NFL franchises. Garbage. Garbage is going to be sure that they lose the best player they have ever had in Deshaun Watson. Yes, I'm including J.J. Watt in that assessment. Fight me. But Bill O'Brien set a match to that and blew it up, right? Like the little kid staring at the camera as the house on fire. He's the offensive coordinator over there. Like, he's going to get dudes. Like Robert Gillespie from North Carolina. Shout out Robert Gillespie, who played at Hattiesburg High, which was across the street from where I played Dixie Youth baseball and where my mom's and my big cousin Rico went to school. Like, I'm all familiar with the Hattiesburg High School Tigers, and I watched him in 97 become a Super Prep All-American. Shout out Robert Gillespie. You on.
Shouts.
Appreciate you for getting Hattiesburg in there in Tuscaloosa. Now, do something about Southern Miss right quick while you at it, because Southern Miss is in a bad way. I need you to go ahead and fix that, because, like, I'm tired of trying to defend Southern Miss in this trash program that they've become. Pat Surtain went to Southern Miss. My God. I still...
He's one of those guys, though, with his son, Patrick Surtain Jr., being so nice. Like, that's one of those where it's just like, damn, I'm old. Because, like, I remember, like, trading for him in Madden.
Yeah.
And, him and Sam, Madison, all those guys. Oh, boy.
I called him Shackles.
They were lockup.
You know what I'm saying?
They were straight lockup. I do want to make a quick Bill O'Brien point, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think you hit it on the head. Like, the people that have been critical of the Bill O'Brien hire for Alabama, first off, you're discounting coaching rehab. Nobody does it better than Nick Saban. When you look at Bill O'Brien, we're just talking about him running an offense and calling plays. We're not talking about all the other stuff, like you said, in terms of, general management and being in an NFL franchise. Because Steve Sarkeesian was fired from the Atlanta Falcons before he came back to Alabama. So he also struggled at the NFL level to some degree. And then he came there and flourished at Alabama. I expect Bill O'Brien to keep the party going. You look at, he made people think Christian Hackenberg was good at Penn State.
Oh, Lord.
Isn't that the same Bill O'Brien we talking about?
Hey, man, I was out on Christian Hackenberg.
But he made people think he was good.
Look, Answer me this. How is it the same people who believe that Christian Hackenberg was good, who acknowledge that he was bad in the NFL, are like, Zach Wilson is the man. Zach Wilson is going to be the truth. Yo, man. I seen the boy. I've been watching the boy.
Why you hating on Zach Wilson?
Because it's BYU. Like, look, you went down to Conway, and not only you got your butt kicked, you got your butt kicked. Okay? Like, where was his peoples when the Chanticleers rolled up on him? Like, that was my first clue. Like,
okay, that was a problem.
Like,
I had a big problem with that. That's a fair.
Where are your boys? Like, that's when your boys has got to come through. Like, that's why we always talk about who you want to be in a dark alley with, who you want to be in a bar with. Where were them dudes? And you know what?
Real rap though. Like in a film session, when that occurred, for people that don't know what we're talking about when the Chanticleers decided to roll up on Zach Wilson at the Hail Mary after he threw an interception and just trampled him. And they all, like, that would have been a freaking, and I know they pulled up eventually. It was like late and it looked like they really weren't about that life. And maybe, it's more of their culture. I don't know. I'm not going to speak to that. But what I will say is in a film session, I've had coaches that say, if we're not going to win the game, we better win the fight.
Oh, man.
You better, if you ain't going to win the game, you better win the fight.
And like, all right. And to that point, right? The other part that bothers me is BYU got like 26-year-old true freshmen, 25-year-old true freshmen, right? They go on a mission trip. They come back grown with children, and they play on the offensive line. Like, Brady Christensen probably wins some sort of award if we're talking about, like, Penei Sewell, Brady Christensen, Alex Leatherwood. Like, those dudes, those are dudes. You had that guy on your offensive line, right? Dax Milne comes out of nowhere. Be great for you. Baylor Romney comes out of nowhere. Be great for you, right? But they could also run the football. And then I could look up and I say, all right, man, where your people's at? But I'll give Zach Wilson this. I give him this. Tremendous swag. You know how I know man got tremendous swag? A man was a high school senior who took 2 BYU cheerleaders to prom. 2 of them. He took 2 BYU cheerleaders to prom while he was still in high school.
Yeah, that's what quarterbacks in movies do.
So, like, if you go draft him on swag, all right, but to swag translate, you know who else had swag? You know who had a lot of swag? Didn't really go that well. Johnny Manziel had swag. Remember, everybody all in on Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, but for every Johnny Manziel, you guys will tell me Baker Mayfield, right?
Hey,
Baker Mayfield was
which one
holding his.
Hold up. Which one of them dudes won the Heisman Trophy and was the number 1 overall draft pick? And then which one of them dudes won a playoff game with Cleveland?
But that's my point though.
So
you can't say, well, is he more Johnny Manziel or any of those things? Like, I just think that there's some of them that turn out well, some of them that don't.
When we talk in February 2022, who is going to have won more games? Justin Fields or Zach Wilson?
Ooh. Well, this depends a whole lot. I hate to be the cop-out guy, but it depends on where Deshaun Watson goes, right?
No, it doesn't.
Because
it doesn't. It doesn't, right? Because assume that, like, you look at mocks. People got Zach Wilson at number 2. They got him at number 4.
Right.
They got Justin Fields at 8. Like, all right, let's assume, all right. Let's say Justin Fields ends up at Atlanta. Let's say that Zach Wilson ends up at Detroit. Who winning more games?
Oh, then I would say Justin Fields.
Okay, now flip him.
I like that situation better for him.
Now flip him.
If Zach Wilson ends up in Atlanta and Justin Fields goes to Detroit, no, I would give it up to Zach Wilson. You don't think so you're not even, you're essentially saying he's not ready to play year 1. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think any of them are ready to play year 1, but I'm making them play year 1. I have enough Justin Fields tape and enough Justin Fields background to ascertain what that man is made of, and the idea that everybody at Ohio State wanted to follow him. Justin Fields is one of 2 reasons why the We Want to Play got up and going. Who heard from Zach Wilson then? Where was he? Where was Zach Wilson when everybody's opting out saying, oh, I guess they're gonna shelve us up, right? Like BYU wanted to play. BYU scheduled some games. Justin Fields out in front of Ryan Day in some respects, talking about, yo, I want to play football. And that was a dude with everything to lose. Matter of fact, if he didn't play last year, we're still talking about him as the number 2 overall draft pick. Probably more so than we would be this year. And all the man did was take him to a national championship after saying, I came back to try to win a national championship. Like, I don't see why this is an argument.
While he was injured, by the way.
Yeah, but I don't see it. I don't understand how people can be so in on Zach Wilson based on things that are dependent on how good your offensive line and wide receivers are, and so out on Justin Fields based on things that he can control. Attitude, leadership, charisma. How many people want to follow you? The man did it at Georgia and then did it at Ohio State. That's a great point. That's a great point, because if you even juxtapose that with Jalen Hurts and what he did in Philadelphia, like, you're talking about, so that's something. I'm focusing more on the arm talent and all that type of stuff. But when we look at the intangibles and can you galvanize an NFL locker room of grown ass men and say, all right, I'm going to come in, I'm the man in this huddle. Like Jalen Hurts was able to prove that towards the end of last season. Justin Fields, I think, can do that and has that presence about him from all the examples you listed. I think it is fair for that to be a question mark with Zach Wilson, according to where you're going. All right, so last question I have, then we'll get out of here. Of the new starters in college football, right, the new starters, would you take Bryce Young against the field to finish as a Heisman Trophy finalist? Like, you get the entire field or you get Bryce Young?
Right. I'm going field. Yeah.
No, it's tough for me, right? It's tough for me because I don't know what I don't know. Want to bet on Bryce.
I mean, look how much time we spent on the Ohio State quarterback from whoever wins that situation.
Well, I've also what's interesting about that is, as much as we spend a lot of time on what we don't know about them, I know who the quarterback coach is. I know who the offensive coordinator is. I know what scheme they're running. I know about the personnel around him. At Alabama, Bill O'Brien is new offensive line coach, new running backs coach, new quarterbacks coach, right?
Yep.
The only variables that remain are a couple of dudes on offensive line, right? A couple of dudes in the backfield, but mostly just Nick Saban and Bryce Young themselves. And I'm all in on Bryce, because Bryce was down to USC and Oklahoma, pick USC, then flip to Alabama. So I've been knowing about Bryce for some time, set records in out of day. But if I told you that you get Bryce Young or JT Daniels, which one would you pick?
See, I really like Georgia this year.
I like Georgia. I'm talking about quarterback.
I know. But part of the reason why I like Georgia is I think JT Daniels will be able to have that connection with Todd Monken that you mentioned of things they got to clean up in the offseason. And they got too much talent. And they're bringing back the mountain on defense, Jordan Davis, who's like the biggest human being on the face of the earth. But
Jalen Carter, good God. And you got 6'7" Darnell Washington out there, who was a freakazoid.
Darnell Washington, he has some serious weapons.
He got all of the running backs returning. All of them.
All the backs, seriously, Kirby, it's now or never, Kirby. Seriously. That's why to bring this whole thing full circle, I that's why I said pump the brakes on the OU thing. Do I have OU as a playoff team? Yes. But when I think about in terms of this is my question to you, flipping it back, this 2021 Oklahoma team is the best Oklahoma team since
2017. 2017.
I like.
No, okay. 2017. That was the national championship year. Running two down, you had two men with their hand on the ground, one dude standing up against Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel. What you think was going to happen? I was so hot. 17-point lead. You up 17. You up 17. That was number 8. We was the matchup for Alabama. It wasn't Georgia. Oklahoma was the matchup. Instead, you got Tua Tagovailoa coming off the bench to throw bombs to Devontae Smith to put a knot on your head. Kirby Smart turning into Mark Richt 2.0. Yeah, you was great at Florida State, just like you was great at Alabama. Can you win national championship at Georgia, though? Georgia ain't won no national championship since like 1980. Nah, man. Like this. I've been saying for 3 years since this 2019 class was put together on the commit list. This is the backbone of a national championship team. They don't get it done in 21. It's gonna be a couple of years. It might be more than that, right? Because we'll see. We'll see what they are able to add in 22 because Oklahoma has been down in even years because it's just generally hard to get back-to-back five-star quarterbacks, which brings you back to Georgia. You got back-to-back five-star quarterbacks.
Yeah, you got Brock coming in there. Yeah.
No, and you got Gunnar Stockton on the hook.
And Gunnar Stockton on the hook.
And you got Carson Beck there. Like, you got dudes. Georgia. Nah, Kirby. I had Georgia and Oklahoma in the national championship game. Okay? I'm talking myself into Ohio State making the playoff. We'll see, right? And I'm talking myself into an undefeated Pac-12 champ, but we ain't seen that, right? We ain't seen that. I need to see that. I need to see an undefeated Pac-12 champ, see what that look like. Because Oregon, USC, Utah, obviously, but Arizona State could be nice too. They just got to put some stuff together. All right.
I'd be remiss if we did not mention one of my hesitations for Texas year one, and why is because of Iowa State. What Iowa State is bringing back, and Matt Campbell, I think they announced his extension the other day.
8 years.
2028, right?
Yeah. 8 years.
Yeah.
Will McDonald, Mike Rose, Breece Hall. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're talking about, I have them hovering around 5 or 6 right now, just off my rankings. But anyway.
Hey, look. Who won the Big 12 championship 2015?
Hey, it's a new day.
16.
It's a new day.
17.
It's a new day.
18. 19.
There's no excuse for that on our side. It's a new day.
20. 6.
All I'm saying is don't. Hey, if things start going ahead of schedule.
I'm just saying, like, to your Iowa State point.
Right.
Like,
right.
Everybody keeps.
Iowa State right now probably feels the same way we felt last year. As Texas, as a Texas fan, like, in terms of everybody coming back, all this experience.
Oklahoma has that effect on people.
Stop the streak.
Stop the count.
Put it in the chat. Stop the streak.
Stop the count. Stop the count. Yeah, that's what they was doing in 2018 after. Hey, we beat Kyler Murray in Oklahoma. Stop the count. It's over. It's done. Nah, that went. Damn, Kyler Murray was nice. He's nice. He's so nice. Oh, my God. That is Steven Ngati. The man is over at Fanatic Perspective. We got a pinned comment in the live chat for those of you watching. You can watch it in a replay and get to there. There's going to be a link in the description below where you can find all of his excellent videos. I hate trying to say the word content as to promote what people are doing, because as creatives, we don't really think of what we make as content. We think of what we make as what we love and what we enjoy. And Steven's passion comes through all the way, all the time. I'm over there just kind of hanging out. Just got the videos on background because I play for YouTube Premium because I'm that dude. Steven, appreciate you, man.
RJ, thank you so much. I just want to say one last thing before we sign off here. You should have been in the hashtag YouTube Black commercial. I appreciate what all those folks are doing over there. I follow many of their channels. Guys, thank you for following me. But RJ, the way you've grown, what you've done for our community, congratulations with Fox Sports. But it's Black History Month. You should have been in the YouTube Black commercial. Hopefully they can get that done for 2022. Hopefully YouTube hears me. We need a contact. I can email the rep on your behalf. I don't mind. But you should have been in the commercial. Yo, we here for the culture too, bruh. That's all I'm saying. Hey, but anyway, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Hey, subscribe to Ngati's channel. We will catch y'all on the flip side.